All right, everybody. What's up, Sixers Nation?
Go.
Happy Sunday. I'm going to do a little bit of a different, live stream today. Normally, we're just all Sixers, but we got a big game today for your Philadelphia Eagles. We're personally big Birds fans. I know not every Sixers fan is a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but still wanted to talk some Eagles. They do play today at 4:30. We'll go into that game, talk about that, talk about the Eagles season a little bit. They just announced some awards, so we'll go into that too, what we think about that. And then we'll finish up by talking about your Sixers, who also play today, which is kind of annoying. They play 6 o'clock, so it'll be during the start of the Sixers game. Will be during the Eagles game, since that game won't end closer until like 7:30. But nonetheless, hoping for 2 dubs today. Hopefully, the Philadelphia can go 2-0 today. Can't say the Sixers game is as big as the Eagles game, but still an important game nonetheless. Coming off a bad loss on Friday to the Pelicans, really bad team there. But as always, appreciate everyone that hops in here. Appreciate everyone that subscribed. We're actually pretty close to 300 subscribers. We just hit like 200 like last week. Did another giveaway there. If you're new here, we're giving away $25 for every 100 subs. So we're only around 25 or so away from 300. We'll give away another $25. Giveaway is just for our subs only. So you have a 1 in 300 shot. And then we'll give away again 25 every 100. So we'll give it away at 400, 500, all the way up to 1,000, in addition to other giveaways too along the way. So hit that sub button right below if you haven't already. We're also, if you are a sub, we also have like a private chat too on our Instagram that's grown to like almost 150 people now in that.
Yeah, there's a lot in there, man.
So that's been a great time there, but we'll hop right into this here. Again, this will be Eagles and Sixers live Yap Sesh. First, we'll start with the Eagles here. Before we get into the game, we're going to talk about some awards that were just announced the other day, and this is like the All-Pro nods here. Starting with the first team, 2 Eagles. See, here we go. Next up here. 2 Birds on the first team here. Zach Bond, who was a big pickup in the offseason, and Saquon Barkley both getting first team. And then you got a few Eagles here on the second team: Lane Johnson, A.J. Brown, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Mailata. So great seasons all around for all these guys. The one that sticks out to me the most, and probably you too, is just Zach Bond, right? This is a guy who they brought in here to be just kind of you think just like a rotational guy, right? The Eagles have never spent a lot of money or draft capital or anything like that, assets, on linebackers. This is not a guy that they brought in for $15 million, right? Switch positions. Vic Fangio decided to put more outside linebacker. Not only has he made great strides in, pass defending, pass coverage, run defense, but also he's racking up sacks too. They're sending him out there, and he's just been an absolute dog on defense for the Eagles. Saquon Barkley, not much of a surprise there, considering he almost broke Dickerson's record, surpassed 2,000 yards there, got behind that amazing offensive line, which shout out to Lane Johnson, who unfortunately only got the second team. I can share with you guys in a moment something that John Clark put out on Twitter about Lane Johnson. He's got a little bit of fire under him because he believes he was first team, and deservedly so. A.J. Brown, second team, great season for him. Dealt with a little bit of injuries, but still a great season nonetheless. Jalen Carter, a guy who really showed out this year. Young guy, but huge draft prospect coming in. Again, fell to the Eagles at number 10 just because of stuff that happened off the field. And thank God they got a guy like him, because he's just been an absolute dog, getting double teamed. I would say a lot of holdings have been, should have been called against him, just because he can just absolutely pummel you defensively, whether it's in, against the run or the pass. He's picked up many, many sacks too. And then back to the offensive line, Jordan Mailata, another guy who actually, like, ratings wise, probably was the best offensive lineman this season. Him and Lane, both tackles, put on islands constantly, and have performed well in that nature. So
yeah, and they really could have more All-Pros. They really could. They had a few here, but they you look up and down the roster, they're that talented. It's that good of a team on both ends. So yeah, I think we're going to share the screen here.
Yeah, so there was a thing posted at Lane Johnson's locker. I believe that Lane Johnson posted it, I would assume, to show that he deserved first team All-Pro. We'll zoom in on the picture here. So the guy that won first team All-Pro is Penei Sewell, another great offensive lineman, a lot younger than Lane Johnson for the Lions here. But you can see some major categories here that Lane Johnson performed better in. You got stuff like, sacks allowed. Lane Johnson did not allow a single sack this season. One's amazing too, but I think the zero is better than one in this department here. QB hits allowed. Lane Johnson only one QB hit all season. And he went against some dogs too. I mean, TJ Watt and some other guys just kind of first off the bat. They're 5 for Penny Sewell. QB hurries 9 to 22, so less than half of the hurries. Pressures allowed, almost a third of the pressures allowed. His pass block win rate 3% better. His island rate too. So again, island rate, that just means how often you're think of an island rate in real life, like you're by yourself. You're not getting help double teamed or anything like that. 1v1.
1v1, man.
So he was actually 75% of the time. So 3/4 of the time, which 3/4 of the game, basically, on offense.
First in the NFL.
First in the NFL there versus 55%, 58. So certainly for tackles, that's certainly a lot more common. Guards, you're picking up multiple different guys there, maybe double teaming, you name it, helping out with the center and everything like that. And then obviously depends on your personnel too. When you got a guy like Lane Johnson, you can let him out on an island because he can perform well. QB time to throw. So Jalen Hurts does take more time to throw. That just basically means like, hey, you have to block for 3.13 seconds. Hurts does hold the ball a lot. One of the knacks on him is he does sometimes hold the ball too long compared to 2.79 for Sewell. So that just means you have to block for, what is this, like 0.3-ish seconds longer.
Mm-hmm.
A little more than 0.3 seconds longer, which
doesn't
seem like a lot, but that's still a lot of time. Run block win rate 80%. Versus Penny Sewell was not even ranked. I know the Lions did also have great running backs and great rushing offense,
right.
But Penny Sewell not even ranked. Again, 80% win rate there for Lane Johnson, and then team rushing yards, which is a very indicative of how good you are offensive line. Eagles again had the Saquon Barkley 2,000-yard rusher, overall 3,048. You had guys like Gainwell and Shipley and Jalen Hurts also had his rushing yards, you name it.
Right.
Again, Lions had a good rushing season with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, but still the Eagles rushed for 500 more yards. So basically every single thing there, which I wouldn't even say it's like nitpicking it. Like, hey, this thing is so small. Like these are all like super big like categories.
And it certainly helps to have a guy like Saquon Barkley on your team, right? Not that Gibbs is any slouch for the Lions, but Saquon, of course, first team All-Pro, and we saw what he did this season, kind of just having a career year by all measures. But yeah, I mean the hurries allowed and the QB pressures allowed. That's what kind of stands out to me for a guy like Lane. But I don't want to say he's snubbed because he's still got the recognition, and Sewell's a really good offensive lineman. Although these stats show that Lane has had a better season, we can nitpick back and forth, but at least we have guys that are getting recognition. They understand how talented this team is. And there's some guys on the line like Dickerson wasn't even mentioned. I mean, he's a guy that, is a Pro Bowl caliber player every single season and wasn't even on the All-Pro team, which, listen, you can't have every single Eagle on there. I get it. There's a lot of guys out there that are great in this league, but it's tough, man. It's competitive.
Yeah, it's fun to say. And the guy who that's fallen on the rug is Jurgens, right? This is a guy who has big shoes to fill, with, Jason Kelce retiring. And it's got off to a rough start, too, if you guys remember.
Mm-hmm.
The first game of the season, which actually was the Packers. We'll preview that game in just a moment here. But first game of the season in Brazil, there was two different right off the bat because Jalen Hurts does line up a lot of times in shotgun, which can be hard, right? Snapping the ball 2 times at the beginning of the season. First game where just muff snaps from Jurgens, and I don't think he had a single muff snap after that too. So Jurgens played a big part. Mekhi Becton, right guard. This is a guy whose position was originally a tackle, moved into right guard, and Stoutland University kind of worked his magic on him. So overall, amazing offensive line. But again, stuff like island rate, all that kind of stuff, he's not getting help from these guys. 75%, 25% of the time, he's only getting help. 75% he's on the island. So.
And shout out Howie for bringing in, a guy like Zach Blount. We talked about him earlier, Becton as well, right? And then, of course, the draft class, which we'll get into in a little bit, just talk about this preview for the game, that guys that are playing crucial roles that were not here last year, right? They weren't on the team. So it's amazing to see just the transformation this team has took and the step defensively, but on both ends, seriously. Quignon, DeJean, just all the guys that they brought in that you thought, okay, hey, they might play a role, but we'll see how big. And now we're talking about them as, they didn't make the Pro Bowl, those 2 rookies, but still they're those type of caliber players. And it's cool to see them playing such a high level game, which we have coming up at 4 p.m.
Yep. Yeah. 4:30. So just, about a little under 4 hours here. Eagles are taking on the Packers. This is a home game at the Link. Eagles are 5.5-point favorites. This is something that has actually increased since originally starting. I think it started at like 3.5, moved to 4.5, and now currently sits at 5.5 points here. lot of different stuff to talk about in this game. Eagles are again home in this matchup. Certainly 3 of those points usually you're talking about betting comes from being like the home player here.
Right.
But before we kind of talk into this, I think it'd be fun to play like a quick hype video. This is from Braden Smith here, kind of not just like for the Packers, but like an overall playoff hype video here. So shout out to Braden Smith. I'll share this here from Twitter. So definitely give him a follow here. Time to clock in.
Seven, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today. 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Don't look at what's in front of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. Men go mad with watching them. There's no discharge in the war. If your eyes drop, they will get the top of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Try to think of something different. Oh, my God, people going lunatic. Moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war.
Chills. That felt like a video game intro. You know, like where you're like watching like a Call of Duty or something like that.
So again, shout out Braden Smith there.
It was going
for that video there. Again, hype video. But we'll get right into it here for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts will play. That was a big storyline. Got concussed in the Commanders game there and missed the last game of the season. Not that he would have played really anyway. Again, the Eagles sat Saquon and pretty much all their starters there in that last game. But usually concussions are something that you can a lot of times come back within a week. But he was in concussion protocol for about a week and a half. There's 5 different levels that you have to basically get the green light through. And if you fail step 4 or level 4, you got to go back to step 1, which is things like testing and all that kind of stuff too, how you react to certain things for that. So it was getting worrisome because he didn't even practice Wednesday. He did return to practice on Thursday. But it was we're gonna get a Kenny Pickett game.
We know
anything like that. Come on. Again, I was very hopeful for that. That's certainly also a reason why the line moved up to 5.5, just because there was a slight chance that he would not be playing in this game. You don't want to see Kenny Pickett I love Tanner McKee. He probably wouldn't have played with Pickett over him. So Jalen Hurts will play, coming back from concussion there. On the other side of the ball for the Packers, they do have 2 pretty big names out for them. Jair Alexander. Really good corner there, so that'll open up things for Devonta, AJ, and the rest of the offense. And then Christian Watson out for the Packers. This is a guy really dynamic and really spread the field for the Packers. Christian Watson, a guy who's I feel always injured for the Packers.
Yeah.
Not personally a Packers fan like that, but he's always in and out of injury and got hurt in the last game of the season there against the Bears for the Packers. And then Jordan Love also was dealing with injury. He will play today, right elbow injury for him. So both quarterbacks, Hurts and Jordan Love, certainly not 100%. But that also just goes for this time of the season, right? They've played 17 games, all these teams, and people are banged up right now. There's really no one in the league right now that is 100%.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it's not, hey, I got a broken left, wrist or anything like that, where that's okay, this is an eyesore. But everyone's banged up one shape or another. Packers did play, their starters for a little bit of the game against the Bears. Eagles got a full rest, so they kind of coming off a bye week in a way for this matchup. So they have a little bit of a advantage there, also being at home here. But this is these are guys that have teams that have seen each other before. Again, they played in the first game of the season. Eagles did get the better of the Packers. That was technically a home game, even though it was in Brazil, so not very close to South Philly for that matchup. But no, this is a very good team. I was actually personally hoping for the Eagles to get the Commanders in this matchup, just because the Commanders' defense is not as good as the Packers, and I would also argue too that Packers offense is a little bit better, coaching's a little bit better. And anytime you have a rookie quarterback in the playoffs, I believe the overall record is like 5-17 rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs. So I know Jane Daniels had a great year, but he's still a rookie, right, at the end of the day. And I just think the Eagles could easily won that game. Again, they played each other not very long ago, but Kenny Pickett played most of that matchup and sucked in it. So I think with all the starters, Eagles would have easily won that game and in the playoffs too. But that is besides the point. We'll get right into Eagles X Factor for this game. Do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many guys you could pick out here to be, quote unquote X Factor. I'm going to shift my focus to the defense here because I really believe defense wins championships, and the Eagles typically, in the past at least, have struggled with this, but their defense has really come on this year thanks to some of the great draft picks. Shout out Howie Roseman once again, and just also the coaching there with Fangio. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Quinyon Mitchell. We don't talk about him a ton, and you can also throw in Cooper DeJean there, but I'm going to stick on Q just because of the way that he's been able to shut down, really the opponent's top receiver throughout the season. And it almost kind of goes under the radar. I mean, he's sneakily been one of the best corners in all of football. And for a rookie to come out here, it's going to be a big test for him. The atmosphere, just the intensity, the stakes are, of course, turned up in the playoffs. So that's something to look for. It's his first playoff game ever. You don't know the nerves going into it. There's a whole mental side to it. And he's going to be sticked on probably their best receiver in either Dobbs or, Jaden Reed as well. So, yeah, so both those guys, and I'm sure he'll probably just stick with Reed throughout the game here. But it's going to be a great matchup to watch. And if he can shut down their top receiver, which I think he has the ability to, we'll be all right. And then, of course, Cooper in the slot, look for him to kind of do some damage here today. But no, Quinyon Mitchell is my X factor. Not that it's a huge, crazy pool, but, defense wins, and we need them to lock up, man. It's going to be a tough matchup. And the playoffs are every moment matters, right? I mean, one thing goes wrong or they score a touchdown, the momentum can switch just like that. We saw it even yesterday in some of the games, and they were kind of blowouts, but the Texans were struggling at first. They scored a couple touchdowns. Nico Collins, right back on track, and they blew him out in the second half. So momentum can flip just like that. It's not a 7-game series like the NBA. Like we'll talk about the Sixers in a little bit. It's one game, man. If you don't show up for one game, your season's done.
60 minutes.
That's it.
In the NFL. Yeah. I'm going to go on the other side of the ball. I know this is a big name, but my X factor is Jalen Hurts, but mostly in his running game, for that matter. Again, he's coming off a concussion. So I'm a little bit worried here in plays like a tush push or, QB draws too. He performed well in that. Also just scrambling out of the pocket. This is a guy who, certainly does not have the best arm in the NFL, but he can extend plays a lot of times, pick up the first down, which, hey, if it's a 3rd and 5, those things are important, right? Whether it's gaining 3 or 4 yards to make it a short 4th down or, getting the first down. Again, Jalen Hurts can extend these plays, and I'm a little bit worried about, whether it's, getting down early for a slide, or is he going to take that extra, is he going to try to take that extra yard and take a hard hit and end up getting out of the game for this one? Are they going to do as many tush pushes and all that? Even though we do have something to share with you guys, per Adam Schefter, it's looking like there won't be much restrictions on Jalen Hurts here. This is from John Clark. Per Adam Schefter, Jalen Hurts will have no restrictions on running and the tush push today, coming from his concussion, again, according to Adam Schefter here. So it seems like they should have, I should have nothing to worry about in terms of that. But we'll see. I mean, they tush push it like usually 4 or 5 times a game, right? Whether it's at the goal line or just picking up a 4th and short. And will they be hesitant during the game? We'll see. But they do a few design runs to QB draws throughout the game. Him scrambling out. In terms of design runs, he doesn't have a whole lot, but like he'll run it, 10 or so times a game just because he's scrambling out of the pocket and there's nobody open there for it. Like we showed earlier in the graphic, with the Lane Johnson one. Like his time to throw is like 3.13. A lot of that's because he's scrambling out of the pocket. So we'll see. I think it's just like, again, super important to extend drives, pick up these 3rd downs, make it a 2nd and 10, go to a 3rd and 3. Every yard counts. Every single play counts. And yes, shout out to Philly Nuts here. It begins and ends with Hurts. I know we are right now currently a run-first team, right? Like Saquon is, the big guy, the big dog. And we have the best offensive line in the league. So Eagles, again, are a run-first team. They're going to run the ball, 25, maybe even 30 times this game, right? I mean,
Sure.
Saquon the offensive line got a week off last week. So there's no excuse in terms of, hey, we can only run the ball 20 times this game. I want to see that 25, 30 times, and then Hurts throwing the ball like 20-ish or so times, right? And then some of those pass plays will end up being scrambles again because he may not find someone open. So in terms of like design runs versus design passes, those things will certainly figure each other out there. But my X factor is not just overall Jalen Hurts, but specifically in the run game on how he can extend plays within this offense.
I mean, you saw it in those last 2 games that he didn't play. Not that they were meaningful games anyway, but just the ability to run and get those 4th and 1 situations, or even 4th and 2, whatever it might be, 4th and short. There were times where we couldn't go for it with Kenny Pickett, or anyone else in there. So it's really, really tough. But to have Hurts back is huge, and just his presence out there, it's just a calming demeanor. I mean, everyone says he's a pro's pro.
Yeah.
So it's just nice to have that guy back and knows the full playbook. I think we'll be all right. The concussion, at least, not to say the concussion's not a serious injury, but it'd be different if, like, hey, he can't run as fast and his knee is injured or something like that. The concussion is, of course, a different type of injury, but still, nevertheless, happy to have him back. And it's a big one, man. We need him.
Yeah, absolutely. We do want to just be kind of about 30 minutes. So we'll finish up the last 10 minutes here or so talking about the Sixers. But before we get into that, let's do a quick score prediction here. Do you want to go first, or want me to take this one?
I'll go first. I'm going to go I think the Eagles win this. I think they win this. Right? Shocker. Homer pick here. I'm not going to pick the Packers, although we're just a flat-out better team. I really believe that on both ends. It's not like, hey, the Lions, and I'm being a homer because I think we can be the Lions. That's going to be a close one if we do match up. For this game, I'm going to go 24-17. I think Eagles win it by a decent margin there. They certainly cover the spread and go over that. But, yeah, I have Eagles winning. I just think Jalen Hurts being back is a big thing for sure. Look for AJ Brown to have a big game. Not that I know he's kind of coming off this knee injury, whatever, but I feel like he's a guy that just shows up and he's a big time player. And AJ, not to say he was a first team All Pro this year. He certainly missed some time, and second team is more than deserving, but I think there's some motivation there. And he was banged up last year going into the playoffs, right? Or he was out for that game, last year going into the playoffs. So I think for him to be back on the field in a meaningful football game, AJ's having a big game. Mark my words.
I'm going to go a little high score. Actually, the over-under for this game is 45.5, so you have it like slightly on the under.
Right.
I'm going to go 30-23. I think it'll be a little bit more high scoring. It's a clear day here in Philadelphia. Not saying it's warm by any means, but it's kind of warm for the season.
It's a high temperature.
I believe it's like high 30s. Yeah, it's 38 right now. It's sunny, which
not terrible.
Considering the last few days here in Philadelphia, this is pretty warm, right? I think a big thing too is actually I kind of want to add it to the X factor too. Is a Jake Elliott, right?
Oh,
I don't know what the winds. What's like the wind?
Oh God,
wind speed here.
That's how you know we don't. That's how you know we don't trust.
But no, I have 30-23. I think this will certainly be a close contest. Packers are also kind of like the Eagles. They're run first. Josh Jacobs had a great year for them. They have a good offensive line. It'll take a little bit of pressure off of Jordan Love, especially with a guy like Christian Watson out and some of his weapons there. But they'll certainly keep it close, just like the first week, right? It was certainly a close game. Eagles got the better hand of that and ended up on the right side of things there. But I got 30-23, 7-point victory there for the Eagles. What does it say?
It's about a 5-mile-per-hour wind, so not much.
Yeah, not much wind there. So hopefully, Jake Elliott can get these kicks in. It'll be interesting to see, if it's like a 4th and 4 at the Packers 38, or 35. Are they going for it, or are they kicking the field goal? I know a lot of it depends on the score of the game there. But how much confidence do the Eagles and Nick Sirianni have in Jake Elliott? I don't think there's a lot right now, just considering he's had probably the worst year of his career
by far
so far.
Yeah.
It's going to come up at some point, though. No matter how much the Eagles are up, he's going to have to kick field goals, and not just extra points too. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you're going to have some very high pressure situations for kicking field goals, and Jake Elliott will certainly be a conversation there. But I got 30-23 Eagles on top there. So both our cases covering the spread there. I got a little bit on the overside. I think it's going to be a little more high scoring just because of the weather. And both these offenses can certainly turn on the Jets quickly for that. But we will change course here, talk a little bit Sixers here. A little bit more depressing here. Sixers are playing the Magic today at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Magic are actually 1.5-point favorites, even though this game this game is at Orlando. Sorry. I was going to say, even though this game is in Philadelphia. Sorry. Yeah, Magic 1.5-point favorites here. We can certainly give a little bit of an injury update here. Shout out to Jason Bede here. We got a few guys still out. Joel Embiid again, questionable as always, right? So you're not going to know until right before the game tips off here. So Jason Bede, Magic list, KCP, sore left knee is probable for the Sixers. KCP, who's actually been pretty hot for the Magic as of recent. Jet Howard is questionable, left ankle sprain. Suggs and Gary Harris are both out, which is a pretty good sign there. Paolo Banchero, who recently came back for the Magic, will be playing in this matchup here. So he was out for, what was that, like 2 months or so for the Magic. He is back. He's played a few games since coming back from his injury. So that's big for the Magic and not very good for the Sixers. But to zoom in on this picture here, Drummond's out again with left toe sprain, injury, illness. Embiid questionable left foot sprain, sinus fracture, mask.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Lowry's out.
Adding
KJ Martin's still out, which I'm a little surprised about. I know he was supposed to miss some, extended time, not just like a day-to-day sort of thing, but he's still out with the left foot stress reaction there, which a guy that has contributed for the Sixers and certainly someone that they're missing. Jared McCain out again. We made a video about this the other day. If you didn't see it, go check it out. Jared McCain out for the season. It's official. He was out indefinitely at first, but they made it official. He's out for the season there. So we'll continue to be on the injury report with his left knee meniscus tear. Had surgery again, successful, but will miss the entire season. Gary Harris, shout out Mac McClung there, ex-Sixer there, G League two-way player for the Magic. He is out today for the Magic. Suggs, Franz Wagner is still out though, and Mo Wagner for the Magic. So even though Paolo's back, and
still
the Sixers are not favorites in this game, it's still one that you should win, right? You got, Suggs is the top player for the Magic. Franz is the top player for the Magic. Mo Wagner actually stepped up a lot with all the injuries they've been dealing with, also out in this game. So it's Paolo and a bunch of guys, right? So the Sixers should still win this game. But I've been saying this for a long time. I mean,
we go back to the Pelicans game.
Which I thought was one of those games that you could include in that.
Last time we went live, we said, hey, they should win that game, right? And then guess what? They didn't win. So it's tough to support we always will support the Sixers, but man, it's tough to really have confidence in this Sixers team the way they're playing. And of course, like we said, Mo Wagner's out for the year with the torn ACL. Yeah. Franz is out for at least the time being.
He had the same injury as Franz had the same injury as Paolo, so he'll probably be out for another month.
I will say a guy that kind of, I don't want to say flies under the radar, but Jalen Suggs is a very, very good defender. And the last time we played the Magic, Jalen Suggs played fantastic defense on Tyrese Maxey. So not having him out there doesn't hurt my fantasy basketball team a little bit, but does it help the Sixers' chance of winning? Yes, because he would be on Maxey. So certainly opens some things up there. KCP's a decent defender. We'll see if he's a go tonight. But the Sixers, man, they just got to get some confidence back. And it all starts just like Philly Nutt said with Hurts. Hey, Hurts, it ends and starts with Hurts. For the Eagles, it's the same thing. It ends and it starts with Joel Embiid for the Sixers. We haven't showed it this time, but there was a quote we posted on our Instagram a couple days ago, or I guess their last game versus the Pelicans. PG came out and said that he was bored on defense specifically, and the quote kind of got taken out of context there, saying he's bored with the team. That's not true. What he was saying is that he's bored guarding 5s and 4s and just switching on to bigs. And of course, once again, if Joel is in the lineup, that takes some pressure off there. We've had some injuries. You're missing Drummond. You're missing Joel Embiid. You're missing basically your 1 and 2 centers there in the lineup. So we're very undersized. So Paul George has to play some small ball 5. It's not ideal. He didn't sign up for that. I'm sure that wasn't in his $500 million, whatever his contract is. Okay, $50 million a year contract. I'm sure it wasn't on fine print.
Close.
You know what I mean, though. So, right, yeah, kind of run a couple zeros there. But PG said he's bored out there on defense. I'm sure we'll get a podcast about that, so stay tuned, Podcast P.
Well, he better not be bored today because he's probably going to match up against Paolo Banchero. I mean, sure, Caleb Martin will get matched up against him, and they'll switch things around. But Paul George will get his reps in against Paolo. And will he step up defensively? Yeah. We'll see.
And Paolo's a good player. He's a big wing. He's a tough matchup. He's very, very physical. That's kind of Paolo's game inside. He's very
will
physical.
Probably get some reps against him just because Paolo has some good size, right? He's tall for a wing.
He is.
So tough matchup there. But we'll wrap this video up with a question from Matt here from our Instagram here. Will the Sixers get the 6th seed?
And that's just not the 5, not the 7, the 6th seed.
Exactly the 6th seed. No, I mean you have to start.
It's a fair question.
You have to start somewhere, right? The first thing is, hey, you got to start and get into play-in, right? Which currently they are sitting right outside the play-in. I'll share my screen here talking about showing the NBA standings right now, which Sixers right now currently sitting at the 11th seed. And right outside the play. And again, you got to get to the 10 seed, right below the Bulls right now. So the Bulls are the 10 seed at 18 and 20, and the Sixers are 15 and 21. So right now they sit, let's see, 2 games back. Yeah, 2 games back of the Bulls. 17. They're right now 17 and a half out of first place. 15 and 21. They are
4.5 back from the 6th seed.
Again, they still have a better record on the road. They're 9 and 10 on the road and 6 and 11 at home. That's an abysmal home record there for them. They are 6 and 4 in the last 10, so they are above 500 in the last 10 games here. Again, coming off a loss on Friday, so they do have a 1-game losing streak. But to get to the 6th seed right now, they are currently 4.5 games back. So it's not, again, still not impossible. There's stuff happening with the Heat too. Who knows if the Heat trade Jimmy Butler and they start trying to tank a little bit and things start moving around a little bit, or the Pistons come back to earth and they start sucking again, even though they're playing pretty good ball right now.
Right.
But yes, 4.5 games is certainly doable. But they do have quite a gauntlet of a schedule coming up here, and I actually can pull up their schedule here. They play the Magic today, but then they have Tuesday. They have back-to-back. Tuesday they play the Thunder. Wednesday they play the Knicks. So 2 tough games right there, and then it keeps on going after that too, which I can share my screen here once we pull this up for the Sixers' upcoming schedule. Share this.
Yeah, it's a tough one coming up, man. It really is. It unfortunately does not get easier. So they needed some of these wins over the past couple, or some of these games for the past couple. But let's see.
Yeah, so this is just home games. It's not actually showing the whole record here, but they got OKC, New York, again, back-to-back. So Embiid already guaranteed to miss one of these 2 games. Which of the 2 games he misses, we'll see there. The Wednesday game is actually on ESPN against the Knicks, so maybe that's something, the game that he plays in. Then they're Friday they got the Cavs, they got the Lakers, and then they have some tough road games too. They finish up the month against the Nuggets. I know they're at the Nuggets too in this month. They got the Celtics, the Mavericks, the Heat. I mean, these are all like playoff teams right here. Every single one of these teams are playoff teams except maybe like the Kings. Even though the Kings are hot right now, they've won like 5 or 6 straight for that matter. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough road ahead. They got a bunch of games coming up against some playoff teams here.
It's a really tough schedule. The biggest thing with the Sixers is you just like to see some consistency. We had a stretch in December where we had the big 3 kind of playing in back-to-back games in a way, right? They were playing consistently, and then, of course, Embiid goes out, and he hasn't played the past few. I think that you just need to see some level of consistency with this Sixers team. It's hard to get excited for these games, and I mean, you mentioned earlier, hey, the game's at 6 o'clock. Oh, it's so unfortunate. Is it? We like to watch it, but man, that Pelicans game, it took the life out of me. It really did. Is it unfortunate? We'll see. But hopefully they win today. I mean, it's a winnable game. Here's their upcoming schedule.
Yeah, so this includes all the games. Sorry about that previous one. That was just the home games there. So, yeah, they're at the Magic today at 6. Then they come back to Philadelphia to play the Thunder, Knicks back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they get a few-day break and go to the Pacers, get another playoff team on Saturday, and then play another back-to-back. So they have 2 back-to-backs in a row. So they're back-to-back Thunder, Knicks, and then they're back-to-back Pacers, Bucks, both on the road there.
The league hates to be.
Again, both good teams there. And then at the Nuggets, home against the Cavs. So they have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight games against playoff teams. You could even include the Bulls in there since they're playing right now, right? That's a big game because that's a team that they need to jump to be able to get to the 6th seed. And then the Lakers, solid team. They're a few games above 500. That's a home game. The Kings, again, they're had a struggling season, but they're creeping back up to 500. They've won a few games in a row, and the Nuggets. So their whole entire rest of their January schedule, there's no easy wins. There's no easy wins in the month of January. And then they start off February, home against the Celtics, home against the Mavericks. 2 really great teams right there. Heat, solid team, at the Pistons, at the Bucks, home against the Raptors. Their next easy win, per se, is probably this February 11th game against the Raptors. And that is a month away.
You never know.
That is a month away.
Yeah, I mean, look at this home, at least they're home, and that's the one, even though, like we mentioned earlier, their home record has not been great, but this is a chance for you to prove yourself a little bit here. Your home Lakers, your home Kings, home Nuggets, home Celtics, home Mavs, all playoff teams, all, high-level players there, some great matchups. You have a possible Jokic and Embiid matchup there. You got an Anthony Davis and Embiid matchup there. So, and I don't think they were back-to-backs in that stretch there, but all very decent teams. That's towards the end of January. This is a big month here. The Sixers need to have some quality wins and, once again, continuity. You got to see the big 3 play together. It's just if they continue to not play, you're going to see the same results because the team is simply not talented enough to hold up against just even some of these teams like the Magic. I mean, I know they're missing. Well, we'll see if Embiid plays tonight, which is that could shift the line, of course. But you just need to see some level of continuity with the starting big three and the rest of the roster because it's been unfortunate. I know we said it before. We will make a video as we get closer to the trade deadline, possible targets there. And, of course, we'll even do probably a live special once we get to the actual day of the trade deadline. But the Sixers are going to have to make some moves, man, because right now the record is I think all Sixers fans can go and say the same thing. It's unacceptable. For what we've expected, it's unacceptable. But, yeah, this is going to conclude the Eagles and Sixers live Yap Sesh, man. We had a ton of fun doing this. There's a lot of great games going on today around sports. We got the Bills-Broncos one coming up right now for the NFL. Looking forward to all the playoff games here on Wild Card Weekend. And then, of course, the Sixers later. Hopefully they can get the dub. We'll see.
Yeah. And I appreciate all of you that hopped in here. If you haven't hit that sub button, hit that sub button below. Appreciate all of your support. Again, we're giving away $25 for every 100 subs. Getting close to 300, so we'll have that potentially even this week. We'll have like a live show kind of talking about that. Stay tuned too. We'll go live for at least one of the games this week, maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, maybe both. It kind of depends there. But I hope everyone has a good Sunday. Go Birds. Go Sixers, baby.
Go Birds, baby. Go Sixers.
Bye, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.